Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. This is News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Ladakh to get 5 new districts. Home Minister Amit Shah attributes the decision to Prime Minister Modi's vision for developed and prosperous Ladakh. Gunmen kill 23 people after forcing them out of vehicles and checking their ethnicity in southwestern Pakistan. Baloch Liberation Army claims responsibility. Peace efforts in West Asia reach another dead end. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres urges immediate de-escalation. Israel orders more evacuations. Oil prices extend gains. Fierce fighting on multiple fronts between Russia and Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Both Russia and Ukraine claim to have made gains in Pokrovsk. India's Home Ministry has decided to create 5 new districts in the Union Territory of Ladakh. The 5 new districts are Zanskar, Dras, Sham, Nubra and Changtang. In a tweet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, and I quote, "The creation of 5 new districts in Ladakh is a step towards better governance and prosperity. Zanskar, Dras, Sham, Nubra and Changtang will now receive more focused attention, bringing services and opportunities even closer to the people. Congratulations to the people there." Home Minister Amit Shah earlier said that the Modi government is committed to creating abundant opportunities for the people of Ladakh. Jammu and Kashmir was bifurcated and Ladakh was created as a union territory, a new one, on October 31st, 2019. And Arun Sharma is also joining us with more on the story, and so is Muzaffar Wani, who's joining us from Ladakh. Arun, let me come to you first. Give us, some background to this decision of creating the new districts in Ladakh.
Good afternoon, Mark. Well, if you recall 2019, when abrogation of Article 370 was done, 2 UTs were created out of Jammu and Kashmir. One was J&K with the legislature, and another one was Ladakh without legislature. So, this was the demand of that time that, the Ladakh UT has to be created without legislature. But now, now basically, because the development needs to be done, development has to be inclusive in nature. Now, 5 districts have been created that primarily empowers, the citizen of the people of Ladakh. And of course, importantly, more administrative power in Ladakh means that inclusive development can be done. Just for an example, Mark, development means different things for different people. Now, for instance, people of Nubra Valley, and of course, people of Zanskar, for them, development means that you need to create good roads because these 2 are important tourist destinations. If you move towards Shams, the requirement of development is in such a manner that, you have to preserve the monasteries. You have to, give more, better connectivity here because, culturally, places like Sham and of course Zanskar are very much important. When you talk about Dras, you need to create more strategically important infrastructure because since it's a place where there are army bases, and this Dras played an important role during the Kargil war as well. Now, moving to Changtang, we know this fact that even today, various ancient tribes, the the ancestor of various, ancestral, lineages are here. Various tribes live here, and to preserve these tribes are the priority of the government, and therefore development for these areas are different. So that's the reason 5 districts have been created by the government. This will ensure that how can development, which means different things, different for various places in Ladakh, because Ladakh is very diverse in nature, and therefore these 5 districts have been created because development means different things for different people, and therefore this decision is considered to be very inclusive in nature, and this will empower the people of Ladakh, and of course give more administrative power to people of Ladakh. When center releases the fund, they can utilize these funds for their own development according to their aspirations going forward.
We'll leave it there. Thanks very much, Arun Sharma, for joining us. Let me go across to Muzaffar Wani now. Tell us a little bit about how this is going to help in the administration of Ladakh, Muzaffar.
Yeah, this is actually quite a significant event, and many organizations and civil societies were demanding the status of district, particularly for Zanskar and Nubra. And now with this decision, including 3 more districts in this, is going to help the people in the remotest areas as well. And from the perspective of inclusive development and their participation in hill councils, this is going to be a significant decision, and this is going to help the people in the remotest areas as well, because now they can find their voice if the new hill councils are established, where they can put up their issues and talk about their grievances. Particularly this is important from the point of health facilities, because the distance from Leh can range up to 300 kilometers to the remotest areas, and people had to face difficulties coming back to Leh for availing medical services owing to difficult terrain and the limited transportation here. This decision is definitely going to help them, and the indicators of the development are going to reach their doorsteps.
Right. Muzaffar, stay with us. We are joined by Mr. Alok Bansal, Director of the India Foundation, who is joining us from Hyderabad. Captain Bansal, you put this into strategic context for us, because after all, Ladakh, is a frontier area, it's a border area, and obviously has sensitive, dimensions to it.
See, firstly, we need to understand that in Ladakh, different areas have different requirements. Now, what had happened was the Leh city was getting overcrowded. And as a result, there was actually a movement for 6th schedule and other issues where they didn't want outsiders. But at the same time, the bordering regions like Chungthang, Nubra, etc., there was a huge need for infrastructural development and infusion of funds. Now, by dividing it into different districts, the developmental funds which were getting diverted only to Kargil and Leh will get diversified and will move to these areas. Because as of now, what had happened was that Ladakh being a union territory, most of the funds were going to Leh Hill Development Council and Kargil Hill Development Council. Now, if we have 5 different more districts, there will be development in all 5 districts. Especially areas like Chungthang, Nubra, they immensely required funds, because these have bordering villages which are getting, people are migrating from there because there are no employment avenues. Now, with the new districts being created, we will be in a position to create infrastructural development, build up infrastructure for tourism, which has actually increased many folds in recent years. But bulk of the tourists only go to a few fixed places and get back. So now, if we develop these tourist districts separately and focused development of these districts, these will create a lot of infrastructural development and employment avenues. Now, from the point of view of geostrategy, Chungthang will have areas which are under Chinese occupation at this moment, and Nubra would also probably extend beyond to Baltistan and other areas which are occupied by Pakistan. So whatever happens here would be an ideal showcase for other side also. People across the line of control would also be able to see how things are panning out in India, because there has been an aspiration within Gilgit-Baltistan that they are not getting due funds or are not having due say in the administration of their territories.
Muzaffar, put into context for us, the importance of funds for these areas, especially also since Ladakh is ecologically sensitive as well, development also has to be done in a very environmentally friendly way.
Yeah, before it was made a union territory in 2019, there was this apprehension among the people that the funds are not being utilized properly, and the major chunk of it used to go to the other places. But with the establishment of the two hill councils here, there has been adequate funds available with the councils that are utilized for the development of the region. And now with new districts coming, there will be the impact of the development will be more, since reach will be more. And if the new hill councils are established, then the utilization of funds will be at grassroots level, and there will be machinery and the district administration looking after the developmental initiatives in far and wide areas, so that the funds are utilized better for the inclusive development. And there are other projects including geothermal energy that is being harnessed from this place, and solar energy. There are projects undergoing under these initiatives, so they will be much refined, and there will be the progress in the remotest areas, and the district administration can look upon such progress.
Mr. Bansal, how does this decision help in building the nationalistic character as well in Ladakh, and also preserving the ethnic identities of different peoples in Ladakh?
See, firstly, there are different tribes in different parts of Ladakh, and I think firstly they get to maintain their autonomous status. More importantly, what was happening was that the city of Leh was getting overcrowded, and almost all infrastructure that was being given to UT of Ladakh was coming between Leh and Kargil, the two major urban centers. What is required is that we need to have a development which needs to be spaced out. Probably in due course, we also need to create two cantonments, maybe in Leh and maybe at some other place. We can create 2 or 3 cantonments, because army is a very big component of the, as far as the habitation of Ladakh is concerned. There is a large chunk of our troops who are deployed there. And I think if we can improve their living standards, it will be much better. So that's one part. But more importantly, as he brought out, as and when the new hill development councils are created, then you will be in a position to have focused development. Focused development of Chongthang, focused development of Nubra, focused development of Sham, Zanskar. It is actually such a beautiful place, but back of beyond. Now Zanskar needs to develop. So all these things will happen. Dras, Zanskar, because till now the focus was only on Leh and Kargil. So this dispersal would create a greater development, and I think there'll be a greater, because each district has its own peculiar requirements. Based on that, they would be able to frame policies to suit their own requirements.
Muzaffar, can you give us an assessment of how people have reacted, how have they welcomed this decision?
Yeah, there is quite a lot of excitement among the people, since this was a long pending demand of the people for only the twin districts, but this came as a bonus, the 3 districts. All the people I talked to from the morning, they were quite positive about this thing and expressed hope and happiness that now the development will reach the doorsteps of the people, and people living in far off areas won't have to suffer for availing the different services, particularly related to education and health services. So these districts will definitely play a role in developing the tourism, sustainable development, and the other betterment of the forest regions, since it is also strategically important. The Nubra subdivision borders with Pakistan, and the Changthang subdivision borders with Tibet region of China. So this overall it will be a better coordination between different departments and forces, and that will be good for the overall development of the region.
Muzaffar Wani and Captain Alok Bansal, thank you very much for putting this into context for us. Moving on to our next story, ahead of elections in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party released a list of 15 candidates on Monday. The list comprises the names of candidates for the first phase of polling, which is scheduled to be held on the 17th of September. Elections in the region will be held in 3 phases on the 18th of September, 25th of September and the 1st of October, and results will be announced on the 4th of October. This is in fact the first elections which will be held in the valley after the revocation of Article 370 that happened in 2019. Now, still to come here on DD India News Hour. In fact, we're going to take a short break and then we'll come back. Stay with us.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
In Pakistan, at least 23 people were killed by gunmen in southwestern region of the country after these people were forced out of their vehicles and checking was done for their ethnicity. The Baloch Liberation Army claimed responsibility for these shootings. The buses, vans and trucks were stopped one after the other on a highway connecting Punjab with Balochistan, and the attackers burnt at least 10 vehicles before fleeing the scene. The Balochistan Liberation Army, the BLA, has claimed responsibility, and they've said that those killed were military servicemen. But the incident occurred overnight in Kusakha, which is a district in Balochistan province, as per a senior police official. Around the same time, terrorists had also targeted police and security stations, in which at least 10 people were killed. The Interior Minister of Pakistan, Mohsin Naqvi, called the attack barbaric and vowed that those who were behind it would not escape justice. Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif's office has confirmed the attack on the passenger buses in the province of Balochistan. And Amritpal Singh has been following the story for us, and he joins us with more. Amrit, are we seeing a surge in Baloch liberation activity, Liberation Army activity, or is this really the result of perhaps a weakening of the security apparatus?
Mark, Balochistan is battling with violence, and it has been battling with violence for a very long time. There are 3 aspects to the violence that happens there. One is ethnic, the second is sectarian, and the third is, of course, separatist. There are terrorist organizations like the Baloch Liberation Army, which attack security forces, Pakistan Army, even foreign firms like Chinese firms and their workers, saying that they're exploiting our resources and not sharing the profits with us, etc. So they have a grouse against the Pakistani state. But there is an ethnic angle to it also. Now, what the BLA is claiming is that the 23 people that they've killed are people of the our security forces of these were serving soldiers of the Pakistan Army, and they were traveling in civilian clothes and in passenger vehicles, civilian passenger vehicles, because they've been for days saying that please keep off the highways, we are going to attack the security forces. They've attacked many of their camps as well, the Bela camp also. Now this highway on which the attack took place is the highway that connects Balochistan to Punjab. So they've taken over toll plazas, etc., and they're checking, identity cards of. So they've been targeting other people. On April 11th, also they had killed 9 laborers who were from Sindh. So they've been attacking people who are not from the province, but they've also been attacking the Pakistan Army and the security forces. It's not clear as of now because the Pakistan Army hasn't confirmed whether it was their dead. The BLA claims they were Pakistani soldiers, Pakistan Army soldiers. But right now what we know is that 23 people have been killed by them. They were shot, taken off the bus, shot one by one, and about 10 odd vehicles, which include passenger buses and also trucks, were set on fire. Mark.
Right. There were also claims that the ethnicity of each person was identified before the killing took place. But, you know, what kind of response can be expected from the Pakistani authorities?
As you said, the Interior Minister of Pakistan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and also the Chief Minister of the Balochistan province, Sarfaraz Bukti, has said that the full force of law shall be applied and the perpetrators of this crime shall be brought to justice. So you could see stepping up of retaliation and retribution by the Pakistan military. But these are terrorist organizations and separatist organizations which operate in the region, BLA being one of them. There are several others, including some jihadist organizations which operate. So one could see a retribution by the Pakistan military in the days to come.
We leave it there. Amritpal Singh, thank you very much for those inputs. Now, the efforts to bring peace in West Asia have failed yet again as Hamas rejected the Israeli conditions put forward in Gaza peace talks. Now, the ceasefire talks, that is. And in Cairo, the ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas ended without any agreement on Sunday, casting doubt on the chances of a breakthrough in the latest United States-backed effort to end the 10-month-old war. In central Gaza, Israel has issued more evacuation orders in the city of Deir el-Balah, and the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, has appealed for immediate de-escalation after Israel and Hezbollah exchanged heavy fire across Lebanon's southern border. Oil prices extended gains on Monday on fears that, major spillover in fighting from the Gaza conflict could disrupt regional oil supplies, while imminent U.S. interest rate cuts also lifted the global economic and fuel demand outlook. Well, the U.S. President Joe Biden has signaled continued support to Israel and has voiced that they are going to keep working for regional stability. The White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that the United States has remained in contact with its Israeli counterparts to share how the U.S. sees the situation, and has said that the United States is still working in Cairo towards reaching a ceasefire deal in Gaza.
What I believe now is that it is incumbent on all parties in the region to work towards de-escalation and stability. And so we are feverishly working in Cairo as we speak with our team and the teams of the other mediators, as well as with the Israelis, to get to a ceasefire and hostage deal along the framework that President Biden laid out, to get calm between Israel and along that border between Israel and Lebanon, and ultimately to get to a broader circumstance of regional stability. And of course, we think that a part of that is a credible path to a two-state solution for the Palestinian people as well.
Well, Sarah Coates is joining us from Tel Aviv with more on these stories. Sarah, tell us more about the ground situation and the orders for evacuations in the city of Deir el-Balah.
Hello there, Mark. Well, the situation on the ground here in Tel Aviv and really generally right across Israel remains fairly quiet after this massive escalation that we saw yesterday between Israel and Hezbollah. Now, both sides are coming out to actually claim success in their operations, although there is a lot of fear as to what actually may happen going forward. We do need to remember that we heard from the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, late yesterday. He said that the group will assess its response, and if the results are not sufficient, it could launch another attack on Israel. Well, we have heard from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who says that this is not over. Now, I do need to bring you a fresh update. Over the course of the morning, red alert sirens have been ringing out in the Golan Heights, in the southern part of the Golan Heights, with the Israeli military saying that it shot down a suspicious aerial target. It remains unclear as to where this drone actually came from, amid reports that it may have actually been shot from Syria, which would be a fairly rare occurrence. So certainly a lot of concern here on the ground, especially what we've been hearing from the Iranians, with its foreign minister also speaking out this morning. We do need to remember that Iran has been threatening to attack Israel after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh. He was the head of Hamas's Politburo, killed in Tehran earlier this month, with the Foreign Ministry saying that Tehran's response to Israel will be definite, calculated and accurate. Mark.
Sarah, what are the key reasons for the failure of ceasefire talks?
Basically, Mark, the same sticking point that we've been seeing time and time again, and this is this major disagreement over the Philadelphia corridor. This is this very narrow strip of land that separates Egypt and Gaza, and one that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he will not pull troops away from, because this could then see a resurgence of weapons smuggling from Egypt into Gaza. But this has certainly been one of Hamas's key demands, a full withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, and it's one that the group is not backing away from. Now, really the only optimism that we're seeing with regards to these talks is from the United States. We had that soundbite just a little earlier, but really on the ground, not much optimism from Israel nor Hamas, with both of these delegation teams reportedly pulling out of Cairo with these talks in a deadlock. So certainly this is very concerning, not just for the people inside Gaza who are suffering immensely, but also, of course, for the family members of these more than 100 Israeli hostages that do remain in the Strip, Mark.
Sarah Coates in Tel Aviv, thank you very much. The Greek-flagged ship Sunion, it has been on fire since August 23. This is after coming under attack by Yemen's Houthis with no obvious signs of an oil spill. The EU Red Sea naval mission, Aspides, said that the fires there, they are observed on at least 5 locations at the main deck of the vessel. Aspides also said that the oil tanker carrying 150,000 tons of crude oil poses an international environmental hazard. Also said that the oil tanker carrying 150,000 tons of crude oil poses an international environmental hazard. Houthis, on Thursday, they've taken responsibility for this attack. Let's take a look now at other stories from around the world. US President Joe Biden is in Delaware amid reports that he will announce plans to reform the Supreme Court on Monday. Sources say that he is likely to back term limits for the justices and an enforceable code of ethics. Biden said earlier this week during an Oval Office address that he would call for reform of the court. Vietnam's National Assembly on Monday will vote to appoint 3 new deputy prime ministers and dismiss 2 during its one-day extraordinary meeting in Hanoi. The country's lawmaking body will also vote to appoint a new environment minister and a new justice minister during the meeting. It said in a statement, Vietnam currently has 4 deputy prime ministers working under Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh, and well, the number could be raised to 5 after Monday's vote. Telegram's CEO Pavel Durov, who was arrested in France over allegations that his messaging app facilitates criminal activities, including money laundering and drug trafficking. Now, in a response, the messaging app has stated that its founder, Pavel Durov, has nothing to hide and that it's baseless to hold the owner responsible for abuses on a platform. And today is the beginning of a new era in the lives of Australian working class. As part of the Australian labour laws, employees cannot be forced to be connected with the office, and no boss can actually demand a response beyond duty hours. An act legitimizing this right was passed by the Australian Parliament in February, and it has come into force now. The law is intended to create a work-life balance. Many European nations, including France and Germany, already have such laws. Now, still to come here on DD India News Hour. The North Korean leader Kim Jong-un watches new suicide drones perform. The second round of India-Singapore ministerial roundtable to begin in Singapore. Strategic partnership and issues of mutual interest to be discussed. Heavy to very heavy rainfall is predicted in several areas of Gujarat until Tuesday. Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Ladakh to get 5 new districts. Home Minister Amit Shah attributes the decision to PM Modi's vision for developed and prosperous Ladakh. Gunmen killed 23 people after forcing them out of their vehicles and checking their ethnicity in southwestern Pakistan. Baluch Liberation Army claims responsibility. Peace efforts in West Asia reach another dead end. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres urges immediate de-escalation. Israel orders more evacuations. Oil prices extend gains. Fierce fighting on multiple fronts between Russia and Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Both Russia and Ukraine claim to have made gains in Pokrovsk. Well, Ukraine has urged Belarus to pull back the substantial deployment of its troops and equipment along their shared border. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs warned Belarus against making tragic mistakes while under pressure from Moscow. A ministry statement urged the Belarus armed forces to stop unfriendly actions and withdraw their troops out of the range of the border. Meanwhile, Belarus has said on Monday that it sent aircraft, air defense forces and armor to its border with Ukraine. Well, at least 7 explosions rang out on Monday morning over the Ukrainian capital Kiev amid a nationwide alert warning against Russian aerial attacks. Now, regional authorities confirmed that at least 3 people were killed in Ukraine during massive Russian airstrikes. The governors of Odessa and Zaporizhia in the south, as well as the governor of Kharkiv in the north, had reported explosions in their regions and advised residents to seek shelter. Meanwhile, the energy facilities in at least 3 Ukrainian regions were hit in the massive Russian attack. In fact, Ukraine's energy operator has announced some emergency power outages as well. In response, on Monday morning, a Ukrainian drone attempted to strike an oil refinery in the Russian city of Yaroslav, and no casualties have been reported or damage. Well, Dasha Chernyshova is joining us from Moscow with more on these stories. Dasha, what more can you tell us about the Russian airstrikes on Kiev and other parts?
Well, just minutes ago, Russian Ministry of Defense has confirmed that they have carried out the massive strike against the energy facility of Ukraine that was helping the Ukrainian military-industrial complex, according to the statement released by the MOD. It says that all designated targets have been struck, and the losses of the Ukrainian armed forces over the past 24 hours have mounted and exceeded 1,930 people. That's according to the MOD statement. Now, we've heard also from the Russian media quoting the members of the underground movement in Ukraine, for instance, Lebedev, who said that Russia was also attacking the places where the Western ammunition is located. For instance, in Ivano-Frankovsk, the military airfields where presumably the US supplied F-16 fighter jets could have been stored, as well as the places where the Ukrainian military are equipped. So it is seen indeed as one of the latest latest massive large strikes by the Russian armed forces against the targets in Ukraine. And many here in Russia say that that could be in retaliation against Ukrainian incursion of Russia's Kursk region, which is still ongoing.
Dasha, what's the current situation on the ground in Kursk?
Well, we understand that the MOD is still squeezing out, as they describe it, the Ukrainian military. They have several ways of doing that. We know that the Kursk grouping of troops has received additional supplies of artillery and munitions to fight against the Ukrainian mobile groups. They are conducting the so-called reconnaissance raids on the forest where the mobile groups of the Ukrainian armed forces could still be located. But keep in mind, this is the area where the lives of civilians has been significantly interrupted. We understand that many thousand people have left the Kursk region as well as the Belgorod region, and the shelling from the Ukrainian side and the attacks from the Ukrainian side are persistent. So the Russian MOD is squeezing not only the Ukrainian troops from the Russian territory, but also conducting strikes against the Ukrainian territory from where the supplies for this incursion are coming. And also Russia has vowed before that it wants to create the so-called buffer zone on the territory of Ukraine to prevent, for instance, the Belgorod region against the Ukrainian shelling. Just over the past 24 hours, the governor of the Belgorod region said there were over 30 Ukrainian drones intercepted over the region, resulting in civilian deaths and casualties.
Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow, thank you very much. Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has overseen a test of domestically produced suicide drones. This is according to the state media KCNA, which has reported that Kim had supervised the test during a visit to the Drone Institute of North Korea's the Academy of Defense Sciences. Here's Chris Gilbert with the report.
North Korea has vowed to expand the tools at its disposal to defend itself, it says, against forces it perceives as hostile in the world. And this year we've seen that range from further attempts at launching satellites for extra reconnaissance abilities to an increased focus on drone warfare. And that brings us to this latest test at the weekend, overseen reportedly by Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader, of drones, which, according to KCNA state media, successfully flew a predetermined course to collide and explode on contact with targets which South Korean media says resembled very closely South Korean K-2 tanks. As I say, this was overseen by Kim Jong-un, who reportedly expressed satisfaction with the outcome of the test, and he says it is necessary to develop these so-called suicide drones for the uses of special operations, for reconnaissance, and for multi-purpose warfare.
한미 정보 당국은 Let me emphasize once again that if North Korea provokes, we will punish in overwhelming and firm manners in accordance with the principles of punish immediately and powerfully until the end. We understand that some gifts were given in an exchange between North Korea and Russia in the past. We need to analyze various measures to see if those have improved performance.
Now, South Korea believes that the drones used in this exercise very closely resemble those produced by Israel and produced by Russia. This has raised fresh questions about the nature of any military hardware exchanges which may be happening between Pyongyang and Moscow. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo reporting for DD India.
In Bangladesh, at least 30 people were injured when clashes broke out between students and protesting para forces near the Central Secretariat in Dhaka on Sunday. The clash started following reports that key figures from the anti-discrimination student movement had been detained, in fact, by members of Ansar. Now, the students from several halls of Dhaka University gathered and they marched towards the Secretariat area, demanding the release of the coordinators. Meanwhile, the head of the interim government of Bangladesh, Mohammed Yunus, he said that the timing of holding a general election is a matter of political decision. And he said that a free, fair and participatory election will be held in the country after necessary reforms to the administration, the judiciary, as well as the election commission and the electoral system, and also law and order. Africa will receive its first batch of Mpox vaccines this week, and the continent has faced significant delays in receiving vaccines. An Mpox outbreak surged to global attention as the World Health Organization and Africa Centers of Disease Control and Prevention declared it a public health emergency. Leon Sionge reports.
10,000 vaccines will be used to tackle a dangerous Clade 1B, a new variant of Mpox. The vaccines were donated by the United States. Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo will be the first African countries to receive the vaccines after they granted regulatory approval. International agencies have come under fire for failure to provide the continent with the Mpox vaccines, which have already been distributed to over 70 countries outside Africa. The recent Mpox outbreak was declared a global health emergency after the new variant began to spread from the Democratic Republic of Congo into neighboring African countries. Since January, the Democratic Republic of Congo has reported over 27,000 suspected cases and 1,100 deaths, mostly among children. Leon Senyange reporting from Kampala, Uganda for DD India.
The Foreign Affairs Minister of Brazil, Mauro Vieira, arrived in New Delhi on Sunday on a 4-day visit to India. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar and his Brazilian counterpart will co-chair the 9th India-Brazil Joint Commission meeting. The meeting is scheduled for Tuesday. It aims to further strengthen the strategic partnership between the two countries. The ministers will also discuss how the two countries, as Troika, they can advance key G20 outcomes from the Indian presidency last year. The Brazilian foreign minister's visit will provide an opportunity also to further strengthen the strategic partnership which was established in 2006 between the two countries and explore new avenues of cooperation in bilateral, regional and multilateral avenues and arenas across diverse sectors. The Indian Coast Guard conducted a swift night operation in which 11 lives were saved through a coordinated sea-air search and rescue operation. The Coast Guard, they sprang into action after MV ITT Puma, traveling from Kolkata to Port Blair, had sunk about 90 nautical miles south of Sagar Island. Despite challenging sea conditions, the Indian Coast Guard vessels, the names were Sarang and Amog. They supported by a Coast Guard Dornier aircraft. They executed this operation with precision. Let's look into some weather updates now from across India. And the western Indian state of Gujarat. The weather department there has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall in several areas until Tuesday. Amid the heavy rainfall over the last 2 days, in fact, parts of Gujarat have been inundated, as we can see on the screens, displacing hundreds of people, affecting residents, and they were asked to move to safer locations. Navsari district faced severe flooding, prompting the weather department to issue a red alert for the district. The meteorological department has issued a heavy rain alert in 16 districts of the state on Monday. The state has been receiving heavy rainfall, as we said. This is due to strong rain systems that have developed, and they continue to be active till August 27. As per the meteorological department, heavy to very heavy rainfall is going to occur over Alirajpur, Jhabua and Dhar region. This is within the next 24 hours. In Tripura, the floods there have caused extensive damage to various sectors in the state. In fact, various sectors in the state, and the agriculture sector has suffered losses amounting to 1,017 crore rupees. The record-breaking floods have caused severe damage to over 20,000 houses in the state, and this is after the flood waters entered into them. Gomati River continues to flow above the danger level. The incessant rains and landslides have caused damage to school infrastructure amounting to 11 crore rupees in the state. Now, still to come here on DD India News Hour. The RBI Governor has highlighted international praise for India's digital public infrastructure. And the year's last Grand Slam, that's the US Open, is to begin today. In India and the world are celebrating the birthday of the Hindu deity Lord Krishna.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lin. Now, the second round of the India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable is to be held in Singapore today. On the sidelines of the roundtable, the Union Ministers Nirmala Sitharaman, Dr. S. Jaishankar, Piyush Goyal and Ashwini Vaishnav on Monday met with President of Singapore, Tharman Shanmugaratnam, and they discussed ways to further take forward the India-Singapore strategic partnership. The ministers held talks on boosting India-Singapore strategic partnership with a focus on key areas of digitalization, green initiatives and skill development. The finance ministers, Nirmala Sitharaman, led the Indian ministers delegation and called on Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong and conveyed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's greetings. The leaders discussed the need to strengthen partnership and broaden cooperation between the two countries. The Indian ministers participating in this roundtable, they are the Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, the Commerce Minister, Piyush Goyal, and the Railways Minister, Ashwini Vaishnav. The leaders will interact with their counterparts and will also call on the Singaporean leadership. A unique mechanism, which is a roundtable, it aims to set a new agenda for India-Singapore bilateral relations and enable both sides to review various aspects of their strategic partnership. Earlier, the Indian Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal met with the CEOs of various Singaporean companies on Monday. On the social media platform X, Piyush Goyal said discussions centered around how these stakeholders, having significant investments in India, can grow further while contributing to the journey of achieving Viksit Bharat, that is, a developed India by 2047. India's central bank governor, Shaktikanta Das, has addressed a global conference on digital public infrastructure and emerging technologies on Monday, and he emphasized how DPI was mentioned in the final report of the G20 hosted by India, saying that it had accelerated the acceptance of DPI.
DPI, that is digital public infrastructure, offers a path to effectively manage critical national infrastructure also. In times of crisis, as during the COVID-19 pandemic, India and a few other countries were able to leverage digital infrastructure for vaccination programs and targeted transfer payments. The final report of India's G20 task force on digital public infrastructure was released on July 15 this year, which has among other things contributed to accelerate the acceptance of the definition and framework of DPI.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for the sports news. And for that, we have Deepika with us. Deepika, over to you. And US Open, I think, right?
Yes, of course. That's the biggest story of the day when we talk about sports. So let's get our viewers a quick update on the US Open. So the main draw of prestigious US Open is all set to kickstart from today onwards. And interestingly, the first round of the US Open begins with the world's top players battle for Grand Slam glory in New York as Novak Djokovic begins his hunt for a fifth Flushing Meadows crown when he meets Moldovan Radu Alport in men's singles category. Having completed the career Golden Slam, winning all 4 Grand Slam titles and the Olympic gold. Djokovic is aiming to capture a 25th major crown that will see him move past Margaret Court and take sole possession of the all-time record. In women's singles category, American sensation Coco Gauff will step on the court for the first time as defending champion of a Grand Slam event, having won the tournament last year. In the opening encounter, Coco Gauff will be facing Russian-born French star Varvara Grachova. While Coco Gauff has played in most of the big tournaments this year, Grachova is often seen playing the lower-run tournaments apart from a few big ones. As a result, the duo has not met often on the WTA Tour, with their only face-off coming at the ASB Classic this year. India's Sumit Nagal is the only Indian player to participate in men's singles category, and he is all set to create history with this. Sumit Nagal will be featuring in his 4th Grand Slam event this year and will become the first Indian men's player to do so in a singles event since 2019. In men's doubles category, India will have 3 more representatives who are Rohan Bopanna, Yuki Pamri and N. Sriram Balaji. All these 3 players will be playing with different partners, even as Bopanna is seeded second with Australia's Matthew Aitken, having finished runners-up in the last edition of the US Open. Men's double matches at the US Open will begin from 28th of August. On to soccer now. Liverpool began the English Premier League season with a stunning victory over Brentford by 2-0 at the Anfield. Luis Diaz's clinical 13th minute finish on his 100th appearance for the club since joining the Porto in 2022 set them on their way. The goal came after a lightning break when a Brentford corner was cleared by Ibrahima Konate. Mohamed Salah set Diego Jota away, while Colombia forward Luis Diaz finished well, scoring the first goal for the Reds. Liverpool looked full of energy and Mark Flecken made 2 smart saves to deny Andy Robertson. Meanwhile, Brentford were once again without striker Ivan Toney as the transfer deadline approaches. In Atlantic, Sweden's Mondo Duplantis once again broke his own pole vault world record as he cleared 6.26 meters at the second attempt at the Diamond League meeting on Sunday. The 24-year-old had brought the Stade de France crowd to their feet at the Paris Olympics when he broke the world record for a 9th time, and there was always the feeling that Duplantis was not done yet. Duplantis now broke the world record for the 10th time, beating the 6.25 meters mark that he cleared when he retained his Olympics gold medal in Paris earlier this month. Also, this was the 3rd time this year he'd broken his own record. Now in F1, McLaren's Lando Norris emerged as the new champion, giving fresh life to the coveted Dutch Grand Prix. Not only this, McLaren's Lando Norris also ended Max Verstappen's unbeaten home record to win his 2nd Formula One career title. Here's a report.
McLaren's Lando Norris gives a new life to Dutch Grand Prix, ending Max Verstappen's unbeaten home record to win his 2nd Formula One career title. Not only this, McLaren have now won a total of 3 races this season, which is his biggest haul since 2012. Max Verstappen, Red Bull's triple world champion, finished 22.896 seconds behind, with Ferrari's Charles Leclerc taking the checkered flag in 3rd place after starting 6th. Interestingly, it was also the first time since the race returned to the calendar in 2021 that Verstappen had not triumphed, and the once-dominated driver's losing streak this season now extends to 5 races. Speaking on this special moment, Lando Norris said, "It feels amazing. I wouldn't say a perfect race because of lap 1 again, but afterwards it was beautiful. The pace was very strong, the car was unbelievable. I could push and get past Max, which was the main thing, and just go from there. So quite a straightforward race. Still tough, but very enjoyable." Norris had started on pole position for the 4th time in his career, and the race was the first time he had converted the advantage into victory. The 26-year-old Verstappen, a 3-time world champion and 61-time race winner, now stands 70 points ahead of Norris. In the constructors' standings, Red Bull is 30 points in front of McLaren with 9 events left on the season. Sports Desk, DD India.
So that was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to you, Ma.
Thanks a lot, Deepika. And let's move on to our next story. Well, Hindus across the world are celebrating the birthday of Lord Krishna with great religious fervor. Temples across India are beautifully adorned with flowers and lights, and devotees are offering prayers to the deity. On the auspicious day, devotees fast as well. They sing devotional songs in praise of Lord Krishna. The President of India, Draupadi Murmu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they have extended their greetings to the people on the occasion of Janmashtami. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. That app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin. With me is Deepika Mehto. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.